friends. Welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the listening mentor, and it is my pleasure to come to you 3 times a week with tips for you to be a more effective listener. Why is this important, you might ask? Or you might be thinking, I listen really well as it is. Well, my goal is to have each one of us learn new things so that we can be completely authentic and present when someone else is speaking to us. And we are listening without passing judgment. We are listening without trying to provide a solution. So I am excited that we have courses called The Power of Listening. And we actually have 4 parts as of today. We're working on more. And so what I'd like to do today is I'd like to introduce you to someone very special, someone I've had the pleasure of working with. I think it's almost a year. And we actually met through mutual friends. And now this person has taken some of the courses for The Power of Listening. And I just want him to join us. He is an elevated listener. And I want to congratulate him, and I want to talk to him about his experience. Welcome to the program, Mr. Hiett Ives. Hello, Hiett.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jacalyn.
It's nice to see you. It's the second time today I've seen you, actually. We had another meeting earlier. And it's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've got to stop meeting like this.
Exactly. So, Hiett, I'd like you to just share with our audience a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into the listening piece of it.
Well, I am a business coach and a business-to-business trade show marketing authority. I work in the business-to-business realm, and I work with both individuals and corporations and companies, and help them improve their communications and their trade show presence.
Wonderful. Thank you. And before you took the Power of Listening courses, and please just be candid, just speak your mind, how would you have rated yourself as an effective listener on a scale of 1 to 10?
5, 6, maybe.
Okay, that's honest. I appreciate that. And so when I came up with these courses and asked for you to think about taking them, what were your thoughts, honestly? Were you thinking, oh, I'll just do it for her, or seems like a waste of time, or I want to learn something? What were you thinking?
Well, first of all, I thought I didn't need them. And I quickly learned that was a fallacy. But then as we got into it, some of the nuances of listening effectively were revealed, and it became, a discovery opportunity. And now it's practicing the things that I discovered.
Thank you, Hiett. And I appreciate your candor by saying that you thought you already were a really good listener. And I think many of us think that, it's like, what's so hard about listening? A person's talking, I'm sitting there, standing there, I'm listening. So if you would share some of the tips, just 1 or 2 tips that you've picked up, and maybe something that you actually have been able to incorporate or embrace in your own life.
Well, interesting, in order to get the designation, I had to take a test. So I printed out the test, and without, revealing questions and so on, some of the things that, come out are the fact that listening without judgment is a practiced skill learned over time. And that the 2 elements of that, of course, it's a practiced skill, and it's learned over time. It's not something you can sort of walk into a classroom, teach listening without judgment, and then all is done. It has to be practiced, and it has to be done over time. And that's one of the key elements of becoming a more effective leader, is practicing the things that we learned in the session over time.
Thank you, Hiett. And I also want to let our viewers and listeners know that you also offered to be a part of the role plays that we used for the course, which I really appreciate. And so I just directed you to do different things, and I'm not sure how that felt for you, but in taking the course and then watching, and these are just role plays, they were directed. It's not something that actually took place. But when you were watching yourself in the role plays as well as other people in the role plays, were you able to pick up behavioral traits that maybe were not congruent with being an effective listener?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, a couple or three of the role plays that you had my wife and I do, uh, my wife said, "This isn't role playing. This is real life."
Oh,
So
thank you.
while you were trying to show it as an anomaly, she said, "What's this is everyday life around here."
Wow. Well, thank you for that. So, one thing that I've experienced through the course of my life, and I think that's part of what made me so passionate about this, is I did not feel in a business setting that I was being heard. So, you can imagine you're at the conference table when we were at tables. I know some people are, but you're walking into a meeting and there are other people there, and there's people who always want to talk, right? You know them every meeting. They're like, oh, I have something to say. And other people who have something to say, but yet they start, and then these people will just trample all over them. So I'm just wondering, in your own life, can you don't have to give exact time, but in your life, can you think of times when you weren't heard, when somebody wasn't listening to you?
Yeah, but let me flip that around and talk about a time when I realized somebody was listening to me. It's almost as if he graduated from this class as well. About 2 weeks ago, I was at a social event, and the president of a very large organization walked up and said hi to me, and I didn't recognize him. Turns out we had been in Toastmasters together a number of years ago. And during the entire conversation, he was looking me in eyeball to eyeball, and he was listening to me. He wasn't just hearing me, he was listening to me. And that resonated to the point that I sent him a nice thank you note and actually had a very effective business lunch with him yesterday. And it was based, I won't say primarily, but it was, greatly influenced by the fact that he chose to listen to me while we were visiting 2 weeks ago.
Well, congratulations. That's exceptional. Now, do you feel like you noticing that he was looking in and you looking at you eye to eye, would you have noticed that before? Or do you think as a result of honing your skills that maybe it's something that you noticed?
Well, funny that you should ask that. I had a good friend of mine write a book on the power of the left eye. And it turns out that if you look somebody directly in the left eye, you they subliminally, and I don't know all of the technicalities of it, but without staring at them, but focusing your attention to their left eye, the bond becomes greater. It's more effective. So I was already um, aware of eye contact, and I'll take it that one step further. Just don't look them in the eye, look them in the left eye.
Hmm. All right, you've heard it here first. Look the person in the left eye. I love that. Well, hi, you are an elevated listener, which to our audience really means a lot. If you want someone who's going to listen to you, you've got the man right here, a man to do business with, a man to be friends with, a man who really cares and has put the time in to learn how to be an elevated listener. So thank you so much for that, Hiett. As we close out our show, I would love for you, I'm going to spotlight you, just give maybe one more tip or scenario that involves listening that our viewers or listeners can take away from and think, yes, you know what? I remember a time when I was doing that and it didn't feel right, or I was in this situation, it felt really good. And it all has to do with listening.
Well, I guess it's the understanding the difference between hearing and listening. You can hear, and we've all experienced people that are hearing what we're saying, but they're not listening. It's when you are able to command a listening environment, it becomes so much more beneficial. it becomes active listening. And when you are an active listener, you get far more positive benefits. When you are the active listener and get the other person to get into that same reference mode, then it's a win-win situation.
Well said, Hiett Ives, and congratulations again on this major accomplishment. As I mentioned before, my goal is to help us all move towards peace, and that's one elevated listener at a time. And you are our first elevated listener to be on our program, so thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
Where can people reach you? We are scrolling the banner, but for people who can't read it because they're listening, if you could give your contact information and who you would like to contact you would be lovely.
Well, it's Hiett, Hiett, at Hiett Ives, HIETTIVES.com, Hiett at HiettIves.com, or 832-372-6900, and that's my direct cell phone, 832-372-6900, or you can reach me through LinkedIn. And I'm looking for individuals, companies that are looking to improve their communications tools and techniques with both within and with their customer base.
Thank you very much, Hiett. It's a pleasure having you here today. And we will have an announcement forthcoming about something else that we're working on together. But for now, zip until we have everything nailed down.
Oh, you don't want me to tell them all about...
Oh, cliffhanger. Yes. All right, Hiett, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you again.
My pleasure, Doctor. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Yes, folks, that was Hiett Ives. You can reach him at Hiett at HiettIves.com. He is an elevated listener. He put the time in to not only to do role plays, but also to take the Power of Listening courses 1 and 2. If you would like to be featured on our show, all you have to do is go to Eventbrite and sign up for the Power of Listening. And you too can become an elevated listener and notice all the change in your world when you really are listening. Thank you so much for being here. This is our last show for today. We will be back tomorrow. We've got a lot of programming for you tomorrow as well as Friday. We've got some new shows for you. We've got the Power of Etiquette and Manners. This is our second show. And we also have the United Kitchens, and that is our second show. We've got a brand new show coming out for you next week. And also this week we had another new show, which is called Holiday Traditions, and Heather Dean joined us with Daphne DeLucci. So thank you so much. We also have a comment from lovely Teuta. Hello. She is also an elevated listener, and she will be joining us tomorrow. So I am really happy to have you here, and I thank you, Hiett. I thank you, Teuta, and I thank you, all of you who have taken the courses. We also have music courses, but I'll be back to talk about that another time. So thank you again. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.